I never knew how much the Drake lawsuit was impacting overall music. I could tell that this lawsuit that Drake filed was kind of ruffling some feathers.
Drake's personal image. His entire argument centered on how he felt misrepresented, not how the public was misled. And since that statute doesn't apply to personal reputation cases, the claim had no legal basis whatsoever. So once again dismissed in full, after walking through all three claims and finding none of them met the required legal standards, Judge Vargas officially granted UMG's motion to dismiss in its entirety. And she didn't stop there. She did it with prejudice, meaning Drake can't bring these same claims back to this court ever again. That's it. Case closed. No redo, no refile. It's over. But even as she closed the book on the case, the judge took a moment to acknowledge the cultural weight of what had happened. She recognized that this wasn't just a legal matter. It was a moment that shook hip-hop, a high-profile lyrical war between two of the biggest artists on the planet. She respected that, but she reminded everyone, especially Drake's legal team, that the law draws a clear line between art that offends and art that's illegal. She ended her ruling with words that could have been etched into hip-hop history books. Art can be provocative, aggressive, even painful, but that doesn't make it a crime. Just because something bruises your ego doesn't mean it breaks the law. So when Drake left that courtroom, it wasn't just a legal loss, it was a cultural one. The message was loud and clear. Rap battles belong to the streets, not the suits.
Everybody from the industry hit me today, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I never knew how much the Drake lawsuit was impacting overall music business. I'm not only really talking about only UMG, but people who work at Sony, Warner. I could tell that this lawsuit that Drake filed was kind of ruffling some feathers. It was basically like a buzzer beater. Niggas start hitting me from that I ain't talked to in years. They said we back on road, it's lit again.
At the end of the day, Judge Vargas made one thing loud and unshakably clear: creative expression, even when it stings, even when it's messy or controversial, is still protected under the law. That's the beauty and chaos of art in America. You can spark outrage, ignite debate, and still fall under the shield of the First Amendment. And that's exactly what the court reaffirmed when it ruled that Not Like Us wasn't defamation, it was artistic expression. So, what are the two biggest takeaways from this entire courtroom circus? First, freedom of speech survived intact. The court didn't let emotions rewrite the Constitution. It confirmed that diss tracks, no matter how personal, belong to the domain of artistic performance, not the courtroom. There's no new legal precedent now saying rappers can sue each other over battle bars.
Oh, like Drake is smashing this nigga, man. He's punishing this nigga. He's out rapping this nigga. It's not even close. The music is way better. The visual is way better.
Which means the culture can keep thriving in its raw, unfiltered form. And second, those wild accusations about bots and payola? Completely vaporized. All those OVO diehards who spent months yelling online about Kendrick's team using fake streams, or TDE running marketing scams, finally had their red button fantasy shattered.
Asked for something that no artist has ever asked for or received. And it's going to be very interesting to see if he receives that.
As far as money?
As far as compensation for damages.
Mm-hmm. On the lawsuit side?
Absolutely. We talking upwards of $2 billion.
$2 billion?
Drake actually brought those claims into a real courtroom. The judge looked at the supposed evidence and said, "There's nothing here. No bots, no secret algorithm schemes. Just a viral hit that the people happen to love." So now we move into the next act of this saga, Drake's appeal. He's doubling down and spending even more money, loading up another team of lawyers, and filing what's called a notice of appeal. That's the official way of saying, I disagree with the judge. Let's take this higher. Here's what happens next. Drake's legal team will now bring the fight to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, one of the most respected and toughest federal appellate courts in the US. Over the next few months, both sides will go back and forth in writing. Drake's lawyers will submit a massive legal brief, likely arguing that Judge Vargas misinterpreted the defamation standard, or overextended free speech protections.
Michael Jackson tried to do this and they stopped him. Let's go for it, man. Like, what's so crazy with me, with the internet, for the last 7 years, y'all have been justifying snitching with real street. But when it comes to labels this week, snitching is against the rules now.
Basically, they'll try to convince the higher court that her ruling was legally flawed. Then, of course, UMG's powerhouse legal team will respond with their own brief, confidently defending the original decision. They'll remind the appellate judges that Vargas got everything right, that Kendrick's lyrics were art, that the law was followed, and that Drake's claims were built on pride, not proof. After both sides finish their paperwork battle, 3 appellate judges, not Judge Vargas, will take over the review. These judges won't look for new evidence or new arguments. They'll simply decide whether the original ruling contained a legal mistake. If they feel it did, they'll send the case back. If not, they'll close the book for good. And there are only 3 possible outcomes from this appeal. Option 1. The higher court agrees with Judge Vargas completely. Case stays dead, permanently dismissed, no revival. Option 2. They disagree and send it back for further steps, which could mean reopening certain parts of the case or letting specific claims proceed to trial. Option 3. They split the difference, partially reviving one claim while keeping the others tossed out. So, yeah, it's still technically possible that one of Drake's 3 claims, defamation, harassment, or deceptive business practices, could crawl back to life. But let's break that down real quick. For defamation, Drake's entire argument is that Kendrick's lyrics personally hurt his image and made people view him differently. But the court already said those bars were protected under artistic freedom, so good luck reviving that. For harassment, Drake's argument was that UMG caused him emotional harm by promoting the song. But the judge already ruled that's not even a valid civil claim in New York. You can't sue someone for emotional distress because a song got too popular. And for deceptive business practices, Drake alleged UMG used bots, payola, and fake influencer deals to make Not Like Us blow up artificially. But again, no receipts, no proof, no case. Promotion isn't deception, it's just standard industry hustle. Now, if, and that's a big if.
It's funny to see people's reaction, and again, people still not understanding what the case was about.
I, as someone that thought I understood it, now I actually don't. Because I know he was, from my understanding, initially suing for UMG promoting, pushing, and using bots about a song that was defaming him.
Mm-hmm.
Then the result was, all right, the case is dismissed because there's no defamation. I didn't even think he was suing for that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just lost. K-Dot, K-Bot, the whole world, y'all win. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot.
K-Bot.
I'm sorry. I was wrong. I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Clearly the paperwork that I initially read is not even where the case ended up. Because I thought he was suing UMG for them promoting a song that defamed him.
The case gets partially reopened. It goes right back to Judge Vargas, the same woman who shredded it the first time. And even then, she'd have to follow the appellate court's instructions precisely. She can't just reopen it on her own or change her previous reasoning unless she's legally ordered to do so. So where does that leave us? Right now, Drake's legal team has officially fired the first shot in round 2. The appeal is on. The paperwork's filed, the machine's moving, and the lawyers' clocks are ticking. For hundreds of dollars an hour, by the way. So here we are again, watching history repeat itself. Drake's back in the ring trying to rewrite the ending of a story that already played out. He's chasing a legal miracle that may never come. All while the world watches and waits to see whether free speech holds strong, or whether Drake's team somehow pulls off the impossible. But let's be honest, the facts are the same, the evidence is the same, and the law hasn't changed. This case is running on fumes and feelings now, so while Drake bites down on another round of legal bills, the rest of us will be right here, watching from the sidelines, waiting to see if he can finally accept the loss, or if this courtroom soap opera has another twist left to give.
People that are like, this is why he should die.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
The ones that take it there. Like somebody should die behind all of this, yeah.
Yeah, and his co-host should commit. And it's like,
Yeah.
because he likes a rapper that you don't.
Me of his employees, asking questions about his connections to Drake and the crypto gambling company, Stake. Yup, the same Stake that Drake was recently roped into a lawsuit with, alongside Aiden Ross, for allegedly using house money during their massive live stream promotions. And to make things even messier, I dug up an old clip where Academics himself admitted that Drake was getting paid to appear on live streams, actively promoting this gambling platform to younger audiences. The irony? Ak was trying to defend Drake at the time for choosing to go live with XQC, another streamer sponsored by Stake, instead of going live with him. Imagine that. Defending your idol so hard you accidentally expose him. It's wild because these so-called Drake defenders keep doing more harm than good. They twist themselves in knots trying to protect his image, but all they end up doing is dragging him deeper into controversy. Drake didn't need another PR fire, but his inner circle of online warriors keeps lighting matches near gasoline. But let's talk about who really made Drake look the worst out of everyone. And that's none other than Judge Vargas, the same judge he's now trying to go another round with. Her ruling didn't just dismiss his lawsuit, it demolished it, piece by piece, with surgical precision. So let's break down exactly what she said and why she decided this whole thing was a pile of nonsense that had to go straight into the legal trash can. From the start, Drake's case was built around 3 main claims: defamation, harassment, and deceptive business practices. All of them depended on one thing: proving defamation first. Without that, the rest collapses like a house of cards. So when UMG's lawyers fired back, they didn't hold back. They argued that Kendrick Lamar's lyrics were clearly protected artistic expression, part of hip-hop's long tradition of battle rap, exaggeration, and metaphor.
The people have to know that his lawyer, his team, they're gonna appeal this and take this to another level. I don't know if people know that. Like, this is not over with. Like,
I mean, shit, the shitty. Should we just let it go?
No, see, no.
Like,
no.
At this point,
no. Why? But would you? If you and your team, your lawyers had things in your possession that prove what you're saying is correct.
it depends the judge, and that's why the appeal process exists. Didn't they reveal everything? Because that was also something I saw on the OVO stand side of like, nah, he purposely was trying to lose the first one so he could reveal more in the appeal. And I was like, well, why wouldn't he just?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Just give them.
I'm not speaking to shit. I'm speaking to factual shit, like real things. Like this is not over with.
Nothing he said was meant as literal fact, and no reasonable listener would treat those bars as a legally damaging statement. BMG even told the judge straight up, this entire lawsuit is built on speculation, not proof. Drake didn't bring forward a single shred of verifiable evidence, just guesses, theories, and assumptions dressed up as legal arguments. They said, there's no secret scheme here, no streaming manipulation, no proof of a grand marketing conspiracy. Kendrick made a song, UMG released it, and the public loved it. Case closed, Judge Vargas agreed completely. She ruled that none of Drake's claims met the legal standard required to move forward, and she laid it out with brutal clarity in her written decision. She highlighted that Drake's entire lawsuit revolved around one song, Not Like Us.
I don't believe that this is over. I don't believe that Drake and his team and his lawyers are letting this go. I do think that this is going to another level. Universal knows, or they know, the internet can say, oh yeah, told you he lost it. Ask Universal if they think this is over. Like, just ask somebody at Universal if they think that this case is over.
Well, I think Drake's lawyers have already talked about, like, obviously saying that we'll file an appeal. So
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So the blogs and content creators can react and make videos. Oh, all of y'all stupid, look stupid, It's like, okay, I mean, but this is not over. Like, yes, this judge dismissed it and dismissed the case in that court, but this is now going to another level, and that only speaks to, again, what I'm looking at. He obviously knows something. His team knows something. He has great lawyers. Yeah, it got dismissed in that court, but again, this is far from over. We haven't heard the last of this lawsuit with Drake versus UMG.
He accused UMG of having the power to block or edit the track, but choosing not to, because controversy equals profit. Basically, he claimed they cared more about clicks and streams than his reputation. But when it came time to back that up with real evidence, nothing. Not one email, not one document, just speculation and wounded pride. And here's where the judge really buried him. She said a valid defamation claim must contain an actual false statement of fact, not opinion, not metaphor, not creative expression, but something demonstrably untrue that damages a person's reputation. Kendrick's lyrics? Artistic opinion, protected under the First Amendment. Case dismissed. For the harassment part of Drake's lawsuit, Judge Vargas pointed out another brutal truth. There isn't even a recognized civil claim for harassment in New York law that fits this situation. You can't just say, they harassed me through music, and expect the court to play along. And when it came to the final claim, deceptive business practices, the judge completely dismantled it too. Drake alleged that UMG used bots, payola, and algorithm tricks to artificially inflate Not Like Us numbers, misleading the public about the song's success. But again, he offered no proof whatsoever. No logs, no financial records, no insider testimony. Nothing but speculation.
So, Mal, if he loses the appeal, then what's your stance if he loses the appeal?
My stance as far as what?
Because you're saying, like, this is not over, this is over. So this is not over. When do you think it'll be over? Like, if he loses the appeal, is it over then?
I think it's over when Drake says it's over.
Judge Vargas wrote that there was zero indication that the public was deceived about anything. If anything, the song's success was authentic and organic. The people chose it, not the label. She emphasized that Drake's entire case relied on emotional arguments, not factual evidence. In legal terms, it was all smoke, no fire. So when you strip it down, the judge's message was crystal clear. Drake wasn't defamed, he wasn't harassed, and he wasn't deceived. He just lost the battle and didn't like how it felt. Kendrick dropped a diss that hit harder than expected.
All I know is if you see somebody adamant as Drake is right now, there's a reason. If he's not bowing out, you can't be like, nah, bow out, you lost, bow. There's a reason he's not.
And I've seen some of the rhetoric that he might not be backing down because it's an ego thing, right? Like I have to prove that something was done. If I don't prove that something was done and I just lost just because I lost, like I don't like that. Like something has to be done about this. Like that's why I'm staying in our business. Like
so you're saying other people may think that he's not backing down because he doesn't want to bow out to save face, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is that.
And Drake tried to turn embarrassment into a court case. But in the eyes of the law and the public, it came off as petty, baseless, and straight up desperate. And now, after that ruling, Drake's trying to come back for round 2 with the same Judge Vargas, who already dissected his entire argument and left nothing standing. That's like walking back into the ring with the person who already knocked you out cold and saying, rematch! And it wasn't just about whether Drake was personally hurt. Judge Vargas made it crystal clear that her decision wasn't about taking sides or deciding who won. This wasn't a trial. Nobody was being found guilty or innocent. Her job was simply to determine whether Drake's claims actually described any legal violation at all, and the answer was a resounding no. The judge did her homework too. She studied rap culture, its history, its language, its artistry. She understood that battle rap is a space where creativity and bravado thrive, not a courtroom where every line has to be literal. And because of that, she concluded that Not Like Us fell squarely into the tradition of competitive expression. It was part of a public rap battle, and the audience perceived it as entertainment, not a factual report. Even if UMG knew the lyrics were biting, that didn't make them defamatory, because harsh opinions in art are still opinions, not false statements. She went on to explain that under the First Amendment, opinions and creative expressions are fully protected. That means promoting or distributing a song, even one that might sting, isn't defamation. You can't sue a label just because a song hurt your pride. So, with that reasoning, the defamation claim was officially dismissed for good.
Sure, everything, again, that Universal did, but I would definitely make sure that we're not funding this song, calling our top artist something that we believe he's not. I wouldn't jump behind it and promote that and put all the entire building behind that message. If I'm the CEO of that label, I wouldn't do that. Just because it's a level of, I think, loyalty that we owe this artist.
Then came Drake's second claim, harassment. And honestly, this one made the courtroom shake its head. Drake argued that UMG's decision to release and promote Not Like Us was a targeted attack meant to humiliate him, that they'd intentionally caused him emotional harm. But Judge Vargas shut that down fast. She explained that under New York law, private citizens can't even file a civil lawsuit for harassment. Those cases belong in criminal court, handled by the state, not by individuals filing personal grievances. Even if the law did allow it, she said, UMG's actions wouldn't qualify anyway. Harassment under civil law means ongoing targeted behavior, like stalking, threats, or unwanted direct contact. UMG didn't threaten Drake, didn't stalk him, didn't call him, they just released a song. That's not harassment, that's business. So that claim was thrown out in full too. And then we got to the one everyone was waiting on, the third and final claim, deceptive business practices. This was where Drake tried to get creative. He accused UMG of violating consumer protection laws by allegedly using bots, paying influencers, and manipulating charts to make Not Like Us look bigger than it really was. Basically, he said the label tricked the public into believing the song was an even bigger hit than it naturally was. But Judge Vargas wasn't buying that either. She broke it down line by line, explaining that the law Drake's team cited, New York General Business Law 349, is designed to protect consumers, not artists or business partners. Meaning, unless Drake could show that the public was deceived in some meaningful, harmful way.
You keep promising Dave's son you'll be there and you never are.
I'm a bad father.
He had no standing to sue under that law. And once again, he couldn't. Me of his employees, asking questions about his connections to Drake and the crypto gambling company, Stake. Yup, the same Stake that Drake was recently roped into a lawsuit with, alongside Aiden Ross, for allegedly using house money during their massive live stream promotions. And to make things even messier, I dug up an old clip where Academics himself admitted that Drake was getting paid to appear on live streams, actively promoting this gambling platform to younger audiences. The irony? Ak was trying to defend Drake at the time for choosing to go live with XQC, another streamer sponsored by Stake, instead of going live with him. Imagine that. Defending your idol so hard you accidentally expose him. It's wild because these so-called Drake defenders keep doing more harm than good. They twist themselves in knots trying to protect his image, but all they end up doing is dragging him deeper into controversy. Drake didn't need another PR fire, but his inner circle of online warriors keeps lighting matches near gasoline. But let's talk about who really made Drake look the worst out of everyone.
Those 3 Big Macs are for me. Them 2 big ass fries for me.
And that's none other than Judge Vargas, the same judge he's now trying to go another round with. Her ruling didn't just dismiss his lawsuit, it demolished it piece by piece with surgical precision. So let's break down exactly what she said and why she decided this whole thing was a pile of nonsense that had to go straight into the legal trash can. From the start, Drake's case was built around 3 main claims: defamation, harassment, and deceptive business practices. All of them depended on one thing: proving defamation first. Without that, the rest collapses like a house of cards. So when UMG's lawyers fired back, they didn't hold back. They argued that Kendrick Lamar's lyrics were clearly protected artistic expression, part of hip-hop's long tradition of battle rap, exaggeration, and metaphor. Nothing he said was meant as literal fact, and no reasonable listener would treat those bars as a legally damaging statement. EMG even told the judge straight up, "This entire lawsuit is built on speculation, not proof." Drake didn't bring forward a single shred of verifiable evidence, just guesses, theories, and assumptions dressed up as legal arguments. They said, "There's no secret scheme here, no streaming manipulation, no proof of a grand marketing conspiracy." Kendrick made a song, UMG released it, and the public loved it. Case closed. Judge Vargas agreed completely. She ruled that none of Drake's claims met the legal standard required to move forward, and she laid it out with brutal clarity in her written decision. She highlighted that Drake's entire lawsuit revolved around one song, "Not Like Us." He accused UMG of having the power to block or edit the track, but choosing not to, because controversy equals profit. Basically, he claimed they cared more about clicks and streams than his reputation. But when it came time to back that up with real evidence, nothing. Not one email, not one document, just speculation and wounded pride. And here's where the judge really buried him. She said a valid defamation claim must contain an actual false statement of fact. Not opinion, not metaphor, not creative expression, but something demonstrably untrue that damages a person's reputation. Kendrick's lyrics? Artistic opinion, protected under the First Amendment. Case dismissed. For the harassment part of Drake's lawsuit, Judge Vargas pointed out another brutal truth. There isn't even a recognized civil claim for harassment in New York law that fits this situation. You can't just say, "They harassed me through music," and expect the court to play along. And when it came to the final claim, deceptive business practices, the judge completely dismantled it too. Drake alleged that UMG used bots, payola, and algorithm tricks to artificially inflate "Not Like Us" numbers, misleading the public about the song's success. But again, he offered no proof whatsoever. No logs, no financial records, no insider testimony. Nothing but speculation. Judge Vargas wrote that there was zero indication that the public was deceived about anything. If anything, the song's success was authentic and organic. The people chose it, not the label. She emphasized that Drake's entire case relied on emotional arguments, not factual evidence. In legal terms, it was all smoke, no fire. So when you strip it down, the judge's message was crystal clear. Drake wasn't defamed, he wasn't harassed, and he wasn't deceived. He just lost the battle and didn't like how it felt. Kendrick dropped a diss that hit harder than expected, and Drake tried to turn embarrassment into a court case. But in the eyes of the law and the public, it came off as petty, baseless, and straight up desperate. And now, after that ruling, Drake's trying to come back for round 2 with the same judge. The same Judge Vargas who already dissected his entire argument and left nothing standing. That's like walking back into the ring with the person who already knocked you out cold and saying, "Rematch!" And it wasn't just about whether Drake was personally hurt. Judge Vargas made it crystal clear that her decision wasn't about taking sides or deciding who won. This wasn't a trial. Nobody was being found guilty or innocent. Her job was simply to determine whether Drake's claims actually described any legal violation at all. And the answer was a resounding no. The judge did her homework too. She studied rap culture, its history, its language, its artistry. She understood that battle rap is a space where creativity and bravado thrive, not a courtroom where every line has to be literal. And because of that, she concluded that Not Like Us fell squarely into the tradition of competitive expression. It was part of a public rap battle, and the audience perceived it as entertainment, not a factual report. Even if UMG knew the lyrics were biting, that didn't make them defamatory, because harsh opinions in art are still opinions, not false statements. She went on to explain that under the First Amendment, opinions and creative expressions are fully protected. That means promoting or distributing a song, even one that might sting, isn't defamation. You can't sue a label just because a song hurt your pride. So, with that reasoning, the defamation claim was officially dismissed for good. Then came Drake's second claim, harassment. And honestly, this one made the courtroom shake its head. Drake argued that UMG's decision to release and promote Not Like Us was a targeted attack meant to humiliate him, that they'd intentionally caused him emotional harm. But Judge Vargas shut that down fast. She explained that under New York law, private citizens can't even file a civil lawsuit for harassment. Those cases belong in criminal court, handled by the state, not by individuals filing personal grievances. Even if the law did allow it, she said, UMG's actions wouldn't qualify anyway. Harassment under civil law means ongoing targeted behavior, like stalking, threats, or unwanted direct contact. UMG didn't threaten Drake, didn't stalk him, didn't call him, they just released a song. That's not harassment, that's business. So that claim was thrown out in full too. And then we got to the one everyone was waiting on, the third and final claim, deceptive business practices. This was where Drake tried to get creative. He accused UMG of violating consumer protection laws by allegedly using bots, paying influencers, and manipulating charts to make Not Like Us look bigger than it really was. Basically, he said the label tricked the public into believing the song was an even bigger hit than it naturally was. But Judge Vargas wasn't buying that either. She broke it down line by line, explaining that the law Drake's team cited, New York General Business Law 349, is designed to protect consumers, not artists or business partners. Meaning, unless Drake could show that the public was deceived in some meaningful, harmful way, he had no standing to sue under that law. And once again, he couldn't. If we start doing that, what's next? Should we erase Family Matters too? What about Ether and Takeover? You know, the blueprint for modern diss tracks. Should we pull Tupac's Hit 'Em Up off Spotify because it hurt someone's pride in the 90s? Maybe Biggie should have filed a lawsuit in 2025 claiming emotional distress over the line, "That's why I fucked your..." You see how ridiculous that sounds? Rap beefs have always lived through the music. That's the point. It's passion, not prosecution. It's about bars, not bench warrants. The idea of sanitizing that history just because Drake didn't like losing one round is absurd. This culture was born in the streets, not the courthouse. But believe it or not, lobbies and gentle grams, it actually got worse. Way worse. While Rory and Mal were tripping on podcasts, the OVO loyalists online were having full-on meltdowns. Drake's most dedicated fan base, the self-proclaimed OVO army, completely imploded the moment the case was dismissed. These folks have spent the past 2 years flooding timelines, pushing conspiracies, claiming Drake had a red button that would expose the entire industry once he won in court. And now that their prophecy fizzled out, they're eating each other alive. The Twitter threads have turned into digital war zones. They went from Drake's about to expose everyone to the system's corrupt, overnight. And now, some of them have gone off the deep end, using AI-generated content to spin wild fantasies where Kendrick's somehow the villain in imaginary scenarios that never happened. It's like a fan-fiction civil war. People are leaking fake screenshots, deepfake conversations, and twisted evidence trying to rewrite what went down. These fan groups are crashing out, turning on each other, and trying to rewrite the entire narrative just to protect their hero's ego. One moment they're calling Kendrick washed. The next, they're accusing his fans of ruining rap culture. It's chaos. You've got voice chats surfacing where fans are screaming at each other, literally saying things like, "I don't care about a K-Dot fan. We run this hip-hop thing." It's pure emotional carnage. These people went from hyping a red button conspiracy to attacking anyone who dares mention Kendrick's name with respect. And it's honestly wild to see because these are the same people who once bragged about keeping hip-hop competitive, but now they're crying about how unfair it is when Drake takes an L. They've flipped from being fans of the culture to being cultists for one man. That's why this whole fiasco is so telling. It's not just about Drake losing a lawsuit. It's about how far people will go to protect an image. It's about how the internet turned fandom into fanaticism. This was never about saving rap. It's about refusing to admit that, for once, Drake met his match and lost fair and square, both on the mic and in court. Guess what? S been running hip-hop for 16 motherfreaking years. Our GOAT been on top, album after album after album. That's the kind of stuff these people are screaming in spaces like they're at some digital pep rally instead of just sitting behind their phones. One fan, grown man, gray hairs and all, was bragging about how he'd been putting in that virtual work for Drake. He was dead serious too, like he'd just come back from a battlefield instead of a group chat. He went on, "I had 2 arguments today about that AI stuff. I don't care, we still gonna share it. We gonna keep this in the ops' faces, like bro, you're fighting imaginary wars online while Kendrick's out here living rent-free in your head." Then he said the wildest part. "If my members post an AI of Kendrick in a bathing suit, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna like it and repost it." That's what we've come to now. Grown adults running smear campaigns using AI edits. This is insanity at a whole new level. It's honestly hard to wrap your head around being that terminally online. Like, at what point does fandom turn into full-on delusion? These people have built a digital cult around a man who doesn't even know their names. It's scary and hilarious at the same time. I might need to call an actual psychologist to study these fan bases, because this isn't regular fan energy anymore. This is obsession disguised as loyalty. You can practically picture them hunched over their phones at 3 a.m., typing paragraphs about our GOAT while sipping an energy drink, thinking they're defending hip-hop itself. They've convinced themselves that posting AI fan edits is some kind of noble cause. And yet, most of them weren't even around when this beef was really lit last year. They were quiet when the battle peaked. But now that Drake lost both the lyrical war and the lawsuit, suddenly they've all reappeared like it's Avengers OVO edition. It's beyond parody. I mean, listen, there are millions of Drake fans who are perfectly normal, who love the music, stream it, and move on with their lives. Nothing wrong with that. But these extremist fans, they're not helping his image. They're hurting it. They've turned his legacy into a meme factory. Every wild claim, every toxic tweet, every AI fantasy, it all just makes Drake look worse. Like, if I'd spent 18 years raising a kid and he grew up to act like that online, just take me off this planet immediately. And what's wild is how coordinated it feels. They're still tweeting about Kendrick and his fiancée Whitney a year and a half after the beef ended. 2 weeks after the judge literally threw out Drake's lawsuit. They're out here inventing fake scandals, writing fan fiction, and deep-faking scenarios in broad daylight. Imagine being so bored that you're role-playing as a digital defense lawyer for a millionaire rapper on a random Wednesday afternoon, and it makes you wonder, do these people even have any connection to Drake's team? Are they getting paid? Or are they just that far gone mentally that they've decided defending Drake 24/7 is their life purpose? Because it's giving cult energy. Like pure delusion with matching profile pictures and all. Meanwhile, Drake's probably looking at all this chaos thinking, I didn't ask for this. Because let's be honest, if he really wanted that kind of energy, he'd at least acknowledge them. But he doesn't. He never does. Because even he knows how embarrassing it looks when grown fans start acting like unpaid soldiers in an imaginary war. And then there's DJ Academics, Drake's most chaotic hype man of all time. This guy's taken loyalty to a whole new level of reckless. Every time Drake makes a move, Ack jumps online to defend it so aggressively that he ends up making Drake look worse. It's like he doesn't realize he's helping the opposition more than the team. Every rant, every livestream, every exaggerated take, he's pushing Drake further into clown territory without even meaning to. It's almost tragic, because the deeper these fans go, the more they prove the haters right. They scream about protecting the GOAT, but what they're really doing is turning him into the internet's favorite punchline. And that's the saddest part. Drake doesn't even have to drop music for them to cause damage. They're out here fighting invisible enemies, reposting AI nonsense and arguing over fake screenshots while Kendrick's quietly collecting trophies and UMG's laughing all the way to the bank. At the end of the day, Not Like Us wasn't just a song, it was a cultural earthquake. It dominated charts, became a global anthem, and got the kind of marketing push every hit receives when it starts blowing up organically. The difference here? It hit Drake where it hurt the most, his image. And no matter how many appeals he files, no amount of courtroom backflips will erase that sting. That's just basic business 101! It's like a restaurant deciding not to advertise their best-selling dish. It makes zero sense. Imagine if Popeyes never promoted that chicken sandwich craze. Or if Arby's didn't flood your feed with those steak nugget ads that practically beg you to eat them in your mid-sized sedan, eat them on your bed, or eat them at the movies, you sneaky boy. Every company promotes what's hot, and UMG pushing Not Like Us was no different. That's not conspiracy, that's marketing. So for Farrell, or anyone else, to sit there acting clueless is just hilarious. But hey, at least Rory owned up to being lost. Mal, on the other hand? Oh, Mal's in another dimension entirely. This man is still double-handed glazing Drizzy's gizzy like it's his 9 to 5. He's out here pushing this idea that Drake's legal team has some secret weapon they're hiding. Like, there's a folder in a vault somewhere labeled, "Top secret evidence that will save Drake's career." Please, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him! But here's what's funny. If Mal actually cracked open Google for 5 minutes, he'd know you can't introduce new information during an appeal. That's not how it works. Appeals are about reviewing what already happened, not rewriting the story. Once the judge makes her ruling, you can't walk in with fresh documents like, "Oh hey, I found this text from Kendrick. Can we try again?" It doesn't work like that. Still, you can tell Rory's walking on eggshells whenever Drake's name comes up. He's too scared to say what he really thinks because Mal's energy is so deep in the OVO trenches, it's like he's guarding Drake's reputation personally. You can literally feel Rory trying to stay diplomatic while Mal's ranting like a man possessed by a Toronto spirit. And to be fair, I don't think Rory's dumb. He's just trying to keep the peace. You know that feeling when your boy gets a few beers in and starts talking about wild conspiracy theories? Like, bro, the government replaced pigeons with drones, I swear. At that point, you just nod and let him talk so you don't ruin the vibe. That's Rory. He's just letting Mal rock for the sake of keeping those podcast clips spicy and viral. But let's give Mal a little credit. He's technically right about one thing. This isn't completely over. Drake did file an appeal, so yes, the judge has to take another look at it. But let's not twist that into some Hollywood plotline where Drake's about to drop a legal bombshell. This appeal isn't about new discoveries or secret evidence, it's just a paperwork check. The appeals court only reviews if the original judge made a legal error, not whether Drake's pride was bruised too hard. Trying to spin this into some Drake's playing 4D chess against the music industry narrative is pure delusion. UMG isn't losing sleep over this. They're not pacing around their boardrooms like, "Oh no, what will Aubrey do next?" They've already moved on. Meanwhile, Drake's sitting there hoping the same arguments that got tossed once will magically hit different the second time around. Because here's the truth. Drake's already presented everything he had. The judge didn't miss anything. She didn't overlook hidden evidence. She flat out said the case was weak. Unless she suddenly has a change of heart and reopens it completely, there's nowhere else for this to go. Drake can't add new claims, can't submit new files, can't suddenly rewrite history. So the real question is, what's going to change here exactly? The answer's simple, nothing. The appeal might make headlines for a minute, but unless something major happens, it's just a formality. Drake's stuck playing legal reruns of a case that already got canceled before it could even air. You'll see exactly what I mean later in this video. But let's pause right here because it's honestly kind of sad. Like Jamari said, Rory isn't a dumb guy. He's sharp, experienced, and he knows the game. The real problem is Mal. Because Mal has turned glazing Drake into an entire brand identity. It's not commentary anymore. It's a lifestyle. And look, the Joe Budden podcast is massive. Like generationally massive. These guys are pulling in over $1 million a month from Patreon alone. That's wild money. But you gotta ask yourself, would Rory and Mal's podcast still have the same cultural weight today if it wasn't for Mal's never-ending Drake worship? Would they still trend if he wasn't out here defending every move Drizzy makes like it's gospel truth? Because let's be honest, their names only seem to resurface when Mal's going viral for saying something outrageous about Drake, while Rory just sits there, quiet, trying not to start a war. It's wild to think about because back when they were with Joe Budden, Rory used to challenge wild takes all the time. Joe would go off about industry drama, and Rory would fire right back. But now, it's like he's scared to even raise an eyebrow when Mal starts preaching the OVO gospel. So it makes you wonder, does Drake pay them under the table? Or are they just smart enough to realize that as long as they keep the Drake glazing content flowing, the clicks and the checks keep rolling in? That's the thing. Controversy equals currency. And Mal's entire persona has become this meme-worthy echo chamber of Drake can do no wrong. Every time he doubles down on some wild take, it keeps their podcast relevant. It's like he's built an economy off defending Drizzy. Meanwhile, Rory just lets him rant unchecked, probably thinking, man, as long as this gets the views, I'll just sip my drink and let him cook. But here's where Mal really loses the plot. He's been pushing this idea that Drake isn't continuing this lawsuit to save face. He swears it's some noble mission. That it's only over when Drake says it's over. Bro, what? This isn't a rap beef, this is a federal court case. The only one who decides when it's over is the judge. The same federal judge who's already dismissed this nonsense once before. Drake could keep lighting his money on fire and lawyer fees all he wants, but that doesn't mean the system bends for him. And think about it. UMG's legal team isn't some local attorney office. They've got corporate sharks with decades of experience, people who eat lawsuits like this for breakfast. These lawyers charge more per hour than some artists make per concert. Drake's lawyers might be good, but they're not outmatching a billion-dollar label's legal fortress. The idea that he's got some secret advantage here is laughable. And the sad part? You can see it on the podcast. The moderator, Damer, is constantly trying to drag Maul back into reality. He's the only one in the room doing actual research, gently trying to explain basic logic while Maul keeps floating higher into his fantasy. Damer's like, bro, appeals don't work that way. And Maul's just sitting there, arms crossed, talking about Drake being the victim of a system that's against him. It's not even debate anymore, it's denial on display. At this point, it's almost painful to watch. Maul's in so deep that it's not even fandom anymore, it's obsession. He's out here suggesting that UMG should have soft-censored Kendrick's Not Like Us, just to protect Drake's feelings because he's been their cash cow for years. Like, be for real. That's not how business works. UMG didn't babysit Drake's career out of kindness. It was a mutual deal. Drake made them money, they made him famous. That's a symbiotic relationship, not a one-sided charity. And yet Maul still sits there painting Drake as the betrayed golden child, as if the label owes him emotional support. It's giving sore loser energy. And honestly, it mirrors exactly how Drake's been acting since this whole fiasco started. He lost, but instead of accepting it, he's spinning it like the game was rigged against him. And the excuses keep getting dumber. Maul and the OVO defense squad are now saying Kendrick crossed the line by calling Drake certain names on wax. But where was that outrage when Drake himself was dropping disses just as savage toward others? They're pretending this one song ruined rap, like UMG and Kendrick corrupted the art form. Meanwhile, Drake's been throwing lyrical shots his whole career and calling it sport. Lobbies and gentle grams. Can you believe we're back at it again? It's wild that we gotta waste even another second talking about a man so determined to turn his ego into a courtroom headline. The self-proclaimed suing son of Sandra. Yes, that one. The sexy red stepsister himself is right back in front of a judge, practically begging for mercy while trying to spin this story like he's the victim of some rap battle injustice. The scene was pure spectacle. The Marilyn Monroe host, dressed down but still dripping confidence, walked into that courthouse with what people called a gaveling glow, ready to perform for the cameras. He stood before the judge and with poetic drama declared, "No, this case will not blow like the wind in the Canadian snow. It will glow like that snow, and I will show the globe that injustices will be exposed for how I lost a rap battle I willingly chose." The crowd in the room didn't know whether to clap or cringe, but it was definitely a moment. So here we are again, breaking down how Drizzy, yes, the champagne poppy himself, is back inside a courtroom like it's part of his tour schedule. But before we dig deep into this circus, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because this saga is only getting messier by the minute. Now, let's be real. Drake is not accepting the judge's decision in his case against UMG over the release and promotion of Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. He's fighting it like his reputation's on trial. We've already been through this rabbit hole before, but this time, the stakes are even higher. This isn't just about a song. It's about the limits of free speech, about how rap battles might change forever, and about whether artists can drop diss tracks without fearing a legal ambush. When the case was first dismissed, even the loudest voices in hip-hop let out a sigh of relief. DJ Academics, Drake's own favorite hype man, admitted on stream that when the case got tossed, the whole industry was celebrating. Everyone felt the tension break. Business could go back to normal. Nobody wanted to live in a world where rappers had to check with their lawyers before dissing somebody. But here's the twist. Drake said, nah. He's not done yet. He filed an appeal, doubling down and demanding another look at his defamation claim. The thing is, once a defamation case in New York gets thrown out, the appeal isn't a do-over. It's more like a replay review. Drake can't add fresh evidence, can't rewrite the lawsuit, can't suddenly drop new proof mid-game. The appeals court only checks whether the original judge made a legal mistake when they dismissed it. That's it! So no matter how badly he wants to stretch this battle into a courtroom redemption story, the walls are closing in. Even if Drake found new documents during the discovery phase, those can't magically appear in an appeal. It's locked to what's already been said and done. This means every reason the judge listed for calling his case ridiculous still stands. In short, Drake presented his lawsuit saying, "I was done wrong. Kendrick defamed me, and UMG helped." He begged for permission to dig into UMG's files through discovery to build enough evidence for trial. But that door was slammed shut. Now he's trying to kick it open again, using the same arguments that didn't work the first time. At the same time, UMG wasn't having it, like, at all. They said flat out, "Nah, we're not following through with this circus," and told the judge straight up why the whole thing needed to be shut down immediately. The judge agreed and dismissed the case, but the way it all went down was wild. At first, the court did give Drake what he wanted: permission to dig through UMG's vaults during discovery, opening the door for him to snoop into contracts, emails, and every crumb of dirt he could find. But just as things started heating up, boom, the judge threw the whole case out. Now here's the kicker. Even though Drake's appealing and trying to drag this drama back into the spotlight, he can't actually use any of the evidence he dug up during discovery. Once a case is dismissed and he files an appeal, all that juicy material gets locked away. It's like finding the key to a safe and then realizing the safe got thrown into the ocean. And if you remember, Drake's discovery requests were straight up insane. He demanded every single contract and agreement between UMG and Kendrick Lamar, especially anything showing UMG's power to approve, reject, or completely veto any Kendrick release. Basically, he wanted to expose every move that could have stopped Not Like Us from ever seeing daylight. He wasn't just fishing, he was deep-sea diving for dirt. But that wasn't all. Drake's legal team also asked for every document and communication connected to allegations of domestic violence, violence against women, or other forms of violence committed by Kendrick Lamar since 2014. It was a bold, and some would say outrageous move. In his Family Matters track, Drake had already thrown some dark accusations out there, but seeing it written into an official court request took things to another level entirely. And then came one of the wildest parts. Drake's camp even wanted documents about Dave Free, Kendrick's right-hand man, and his personal relationship with Kendrick and his kids. Yes, you heard that right. Drake's side wanted to peek into family business that had nothing to do with the case. The requests went from legal to downright personal. And that's when even people in the courtroom started side-eyeing what was really going on here. UMG's CEO, Lucian Grange, had enough. He personally stepped in and wrote to the judge explaining that his company owns a massive percentage of Drake's own catalog, meaning they'd be sabotaging themselves if they ever tried to defame him. He made it clear that the song's promotion was all handled by Kendrick's team, not by UMG's upper-level execs. Basically, the billion-dollar company wasn't going to take the fall for a diss track war between two rap titans. So yeah, this lawsuit got messy. Drake was asking for wild documents, Lucian Grange was spilling industry secrets about ownership percentages, and now Drake's coming back for round 2. Except he can't bring any new ammo. The court rules are strict. If you want to introduce new evidence, you gotta file a brand new or amended lawsuit. And so far, Drake hasn't done that! Still, he's pushing forward, determined to get this back to trial and crack open those red button documents he swears will change everything. You can practically picture him standing there, ready to unseal the vaults, determined to expose the whole industry and call out everyone, from UMG's boardroom to Dave Free's doorstep. But whether the court even lets it go that far? That's another story entirely, and we're not done yet, because what comes next is just as wild. The next phase is all about what steps Drake can actually take to push this forward. What legal moves he has left before this whole thing gets tossed out again. Plus, we gotta unpack some of the hilarious and downright savage comments the judge made when she first dismissed this case. But before we dive into that, let's talk about the internet reaction, because when OVO fans heard the news, their takes were absolutely off the rails. Because I don't think we ever really looked at these reactions, and oh man, they are wild. Absolute chaos. Alright, so first off, shout out to Jamari. If you don't know him, he's one of the sharpest YouTubers in this whole space, and he did a hilarious yet eye-opening breakdown on how the OVO army, yeah, the so-called OVIA HOs, completely spiraled the moment this court case got tossed out. They were acting like the world had ended because there would be no big red button, no industry secrets exploding in smoke, just disappointment and silence. But since Drake's decided to fight again, we gotta talk about how he plans to do that, and what this chaos really means for Kendrick Lamar, UMG, and the entire hip-hop scene. But before we dive into the legal maze again, let's keep it light for a second. Let's take a peek at some of these absolutely ridiculous, over-the-top fan reactions, because some of them sound like stand-up comedy disguised as legal analysis. First up, we gotta mention OVO Al, the ultimate Drake Glazer, the crown prince of delusion, and possibly the loudest stan on the internet. This man went so far off the rails, it's almost poetic. He was out here saying wild stuff like, Drake's about to walk away with $2 billion after this lawsuit is done. $2 billion. Be serious. The visuals this man paints in his mind are better than any music video Drake's ever dropped. Honestly, compared to him, DJ Academics suddenly looks like a level-headed scholar. At least Ack was able to admit that Drake's lawsuit made no legal sense. But Ovo Al? He was floating in his own fantasy world, ready to crown Drake the savior of music. I swear the day the judge dismissed the case, this man must have been clutching his Drake body pillow, crying into it like it was a breakup scene from Degrassi. And the best part? I don't even think OVO Al, or his co-host Rory, read a single piece of paperwork tied to this lawsuit. Like, bro, you run a hip-hop podcast. You'd think checking court filings before making billion-dollar claims would be part of the job description. Instead, they're on camera spinning conspiracies like Drake's fighting for Michael Jackson's legacy and standing up to the machine. Please, Drake was the machine for almost 20 years. And now that the gears aren't turning in his favor, he's suddenly the underdog? Come on, even Rory admitted, out loud on air, that he didn't actually know what the case was about. Like, you can't make this up! He went from not understanding the lawsuit to pretending he never cared once it got thrown out. Classic gaslighting 101. It's the I didn't even like her anyway energy after getting rejected in public. Now Mal, oh Mal, he took things to another level entirely. This man was talking about the case like it was going to be the industry reset button. Like one courtroom verdict was going to shake up Universal Music Group, end all label corruption, and somehow make Drake a billionaire twice over. He seriously thought Drake was about to cash out $2 billion from a defamation lawsuit. $2 billion. As if the judge was going to bang the gavel and say, "Congratulations, Mr. Graham. Here's your new yacht fleet and private island." Let's do the math for a second, right? In a defamation case, the person suing has to show real damages, something measurable. Like, this lie cost me money, reputation, and opportunity. You can't just throw around fantasy numbers like it's Monopoly cash. And the fact that Mal didn't even know the case was about defamation in the first place just proves how detached these reactions were from reality. So between Rory pretending he never cared, OVO Al crying over imaginary billions, and Mal building conspiracy towers out of thin air, it's safe to say that the OVO defense squad had the wildest meltdown of 2025. And remember, this was just over a dismissed case. Imagine what's coming when the appeal hits the courtroom again. Now, let's talk numbers, because the math here completely shatters that wild fantasy Mal and Rory were pushing. Like seriously, let's be real for a second. How much money do you actually think Drake's entire music career has generated for UMG? Even if we're being ridiculous, let's say an outrageous $5 billion total, those figures still don't justify this lawsuit fantasy that he's somehow owed. $2 billion because a diss track hurt his ego. Here's what the real numbers show. Spotify pays roughly $5,000 for every 1 million streams. Drake, being one of the most streamed artists ever, has racked up about 122 billion total streams on Spotify alone. Do the math. 122,000 x $5,000 equals around $610 million generated from Spotify. That's already a huge number, but nowhere near billions upon billions like some of these OVO dreamers claim. Now, when you take into account his total music sales, albums, singles, and features, the RIAA lists Drake with around 329 million certified units sold. That's a mix of singles and albums. If we average that at about $5 per unit, because remember, albums might bring in around $10 each while singles only about $1. That comes to roughly $1,645 billion in total revenue. And that's including what he's already made through streaming. Let's go wild and add another billion for tours, merch, and side revenue from deals that tie back to UMG. That would bring us to an extremely generous $2.5 billion total, generated for the label throughout his entire career. That's an incredible achievement, but it still doesn't even come close to making sense of Mal's ridiculous idea that UMG somehow owes Drake $2 billion for emotional distress. Like seriously, think about what that would even mean. For Drake to win a $2 billion defamation payout, he'd have to prove that Not Like Us completely obliterated his reputation, as in, his career ended overnight. No one would ever stream him again, and he could never sell another ticket or record for the rest of his life. It would have to look like UMG single-handedly ruined him beyond repair, and that's just not reality. Even in the most extreme scenario, where Drake made UMG roughly $2.5 billion, there's no universe where they'd turn around and hand him back $2 billion just because a rival released a chart-topping diss track. Those numbers simply don't compute. It's like suing Apple because someone texted you mean lyrics on an iPhone. You can't make it make sense. And what's worse is Rory jumping on his podcast and acting like Drake's lawsuit was this legendary Michael Jackson-level movement meant to tear down the music industry from the inside. He didn't even read the lawsuit. This man was sitting there talking about exposing the system while missing the entire premise. It was a defamation case, a feelings case, He said mean things about me lawsuit. That's the part they never got. The judge didn't dismiss this case because UMG was too powerful, or because Drake couldn't find proof of bot farms or payola manipulation. It was tossed because, from a legal standpoint, Drake couldn't even establish the first requirement, that UMG's release of Not Like Us defamed him personally. The bar for defamation is sky high. You have to show that the content was false, damaging, and maliciously distributed. None of that held up here. And yet, somehow, Rory and Mal turned this into a fairy tale about Drake being a freedom fighter for artists, fighting corporate greed like some modern-day prophet. The reality? The lawsuit was about pride, not justice. Drake wasn't taking a stand for the little guy. He was just upset that Kendrick dropped a nuke of a song that had the entire world chanting, "They not like us." And that's the bitter truth behind all the drama.